topic researching and presenting. His speech length is going to be 5 to 7 minutes. And the purpose of his speech is he has already reviewed some basic research methods and he's now going to present a well-organized and well-researched speech on any topic that he has selected. So let's enjoy his researching and presenting. Toastmaster Talha Shabih.
So nowadays, everybody has a smartphone. I assume that's correct, right? And on almost every smartphone, there's a camera. Essentially, you've got a camera phone. And now in the modern world, you can just flip out your phone and get a snap of whatever you want. For instance, if I want, I can just step up and take a snap of TM Asgar's enigmatic smile. I don't know how he keeps at it. After 7, I'm sort of dying, and there's nothing more than I want than a warm cup of tea and a warm bed. Although not a warm bed nowadays, we need the air conditioner. So it's becoming fast, quicker, and hotter. So, we didn't have this level of convenience. This has only been made possible by technology, or what I call digital disruption. But in the age of digital disruption, there are many companies that are no longer there. And there are a number of reasons behind that. Taking the analogy of the smartphone and the camera, what I would like to ask the audience, has anybody heard or now still remember about Kodak?
Yeah. Yes.
Almost everybody does, right? Well, a lot of people from Generation Z might not even recognize that name. It was an iconic name, no longer present. And if we really delve into the reasons why it is no longer present, it can give very important lessons for everybody and anybody who's working in a commercial organization. So back in 1975, Stephen Sanson was the person who actually invented digital photography, and he was an employee of Kodak. And when he went to his senior management and he presented this idea to them, the response was one of ridicule. They said, "It's cute, but don't tell anybody." This sort of innovation was not accepted at that particular point in time. And over 10 to 15 years, Kodak continued to develop those film rolls, which was fast becoming obsolete. Up till the point that it still remained as an entity in the early 90s to late 90s. But still the management did not come to terms with the changing environment. And as a result, they went out of business completely. And in those days, it was almost incomprehensible to imagine that a company of Kodak's nature, of Kodak's stature, the market capitalization that it commanded, the reputation that it had in the market, would ever cease to exist as a corporate entity. But it still happened. Moving a bit further, we talk about Nokia. I'm sure everybody is aware of this particular brand. The iconic 3310, everybody is aware of that. I think most of us would have also have purchased it at a particular point in time, have viewed it, have used it. But is it the same player that it used to be? No, right? It used to command 40% of the global market share in mobile phones. Now it's not even talked about in the top tier, not even in the middle tier. It's almost about to be extinct. And what was the reason behind that? The reason was the same. The same reason why Kodak fell. And the same reason why other companies will also fall, if they fall in this particular trap. If you talk about Nokia, they were still focusing on a device, when the market had already moved to a platform, app-based model. And they were so consumed and invested in delivering short-term margins that they forgot to focus on innovation, which is actually the key to unlocking future opportunities, to unlocking future revenue streams for any commercial entity, for any commercial organization. And the faster and the quicker that organizations are able to learn and implement those learnings into the market and actually capitalize them in a profitable manner, will actually sustain the probability of these companies actually making and existing in today's competitive world. And there are several examples that will come to mind. BlackBerry is actually another one. Again, focusing on communication rather than understanding that the world has moved to multimedia-based culture. But they were still sort of so fixated on that particular idea that they could not progress. It made them blind, despite the fact that they had one of the best minds, the best business minds at that particular point in time. And all of these companies that I'm talking about had executives from INSEAD, from Harvard, you name it, UC Berkeley. But at the end of the day, all that information, all that knowledge did not exactly matter. And if you really delve into the reasons why, it really comes down to attitude and the acceptance of what you held true and dear may no longer exist. Jeff Bezos is a phenomenal example. Amazon, right? CEO. One of the richest people in the world. So he has basically made innovation a way of life in his organization. And we see an Uber, a simple app, worth $50 billion now. In all of this, I think the basic lesson lies that you cannot relax and you cannot let competition get ahead of you. As commercial leaders, many of us will be aspiring for commercial leadership positions. That is the one takeaway from the digital disruption age. So the person who becomes latent, no longer focuses on what's ahead and becomes comfortable with the success that he's already endured in that particular organization will never move forward. And eventually, that will lead to extinction. Thank you.